And tell me, after that was over, at the time you were at BlackRock. You'd been the CEO of Merrill Lynch's asset management business. BlackRock bought that. And then they brought you into the organization, and things went swimmingly from there, right?
Some know the story. I lost my job. Now, I think we all know when you're reasonably senior at a firm and you lose your job, unless you have your hand in the cookie jar, it's never as simple as one little thing.
Sure.
And when I look back, I didn't see at the time, but when I look back, I saw signs that after, I was with BlackRock 6 years after they bought Merrill Lynch Investment Managers, where I was CEO. And kind of for 3 years, it went like this, and then for 3 years, it kind of went like that. I think, I had to step back. Why did this hit me so hard? A lot of people lose their jobs.
Sure.
It's not the end of the world. And I came to realize I had transferred some of my identity to my work.
So who you were was your title, your role, your work. Yeah.
And now I didn't have that anymore, so kind of, well, who am I?
So if you went to a party or something, or just whether old friends or new, and people say, how you doing, or what's going on at work, or someone didn't, like, what do you do? How did you? That must have been a very painful question.
So I a word on my sleeve is a little strong, but I came from the first 57 years of my life. I didn't need any help. Yeah. I kind of did life on my own, And when that kind of railroad tracked me, if you will, I all of a sudden realized I need people. I formed a board, you may remember this, of 5 guys. No, I didn't name the restaurant, but five guys, I should have.
I like that.
5 guys who came alongside me for a 3-4 month period, helped me get from where I am to whatever God has for me next.
Yeah.
And these guys were just great. They asked me tough questions, they held me accountable, and they just helped me through this period. And it was during that time frame also where I studied the subject of calling, which we all have callings in life, I firmly believe, callings by God if you're a person of faith. And one of mine was calling to the investment management business. Made, if you will, to pick stocks, talk about markets. And so that was a good affirmation to come back to the business. Yeah.
Did y'all notice what word he used, which is when most people talk about calling, they don't say it the way he did. Did you catch what he said? He used it in the plural, callings. God gave me several callings. And a lot of times I think in the Christian tradition, there's pressure to figure out the calling.
Yes.
And theologically, that's just not really there. You look at some of the great people who had callings. They were multiple. They may have been parallel. You're a father. You're a husband. You're a money guy. There's different roles. You're a philanthropist. And I find it's freeing if we don't have so much pressure to find the calling. Now, maybe an astronaut or a brain surgeon, but even then
they have multiple callings.
And that way, when one is taken from us,
right,
against our will, whether it's an own goal or just bad luck, one can be a bit more balanced, not to withstand the pain. But
so agree.
Does that make sense?
Yep, so agree.
Yeah.
And I remember getting advice, counsel from friends, and one of them was Tim Keller, who many of you will know. Tim's a friend, and Tim said, "Stop being so hard on yourself. God made you a Type A, and Type A's tend to dive."
I never knew you were that. That's a keen insight. That's helpful. I appreciate you saying it. No.
Type A's, which there are many in the room, I'm sure, dive into whatever it is they are called to do.
Yeah.
And then he said, if I lost my job as pastor of Redeemer Church, I would be going through exactly what you're going through. So don't beat up yourself so much. And that was very helpful advice.
No, that's true. That's true. Because we tend to measure ourselves by what we have done, and sometimes my theology teaches God lets things happen to us, and there's a purpose that's meant to come out of it. Yeah.
And as you and I chatted the other day, when I look back, it was a tough time, and I remember many people saying, "Bob, you may never understand why God orchestrated this." And as I said to you, it was just a matter of months before I saw myriad of reasons why God orchestrated this, and they were all good. And so, the line I use, I looked in the mirror and I said, "O ye of little faith." God knows far better. I say, I can see this much, and God can see this much, and he knew this was a good move, and I'm so thankful for it.
So it sounds like, and I don't mean this critically because I do this sometimes myself, that your faith was as much in your capacity as opposed to understanding who was really in charge of things. Is
Amen.
that?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And yet, I would argue joy in life comes from understanding who we put our trust in.
Yeah.
And the rest is a set of callings.
Yeah. But you're often known to be red-eyeing back from the West Coast for a meeting, shower and shave at home, and go into church. But you said that actually lifts you up. It doesn't exhaust you.
It does. The rationalization that I have come up with, but I don't think it's a stretch, is that there's a certain amount of Sabbath rest in directing the choir and playing the organ. I'm not a great musician. I'm a converted pianist. So when I'm at the organ, I'm working hard. And my mind is fully occupied with what I'm trying to execute.
Yeah.
And everything else, there's no room for anything else in my mind. So it becomes a Sabbath mental rest, not necessarily a physical rest. And Sabbath mental rest is important as well as physical rest.
That's right.
I was asked earlier today, Bob, if we put the funds you manage through an ESG screen, how would they come out?
And again, would you translate briefly for those not in this sector
Yeah,
what an ESG screen sort of is in practical terms?
Yeah, it's do these companies do good things? Do they treat their employees well? Do they have good accounting practices? Are they recognized to be good quality citizens? That sort of thing.
So some people call those positive screens as opposed to negative screens. Like we're not going to invest in you because you do these bad things, or we are going to invest in you because you do these good things.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Back to your story.
Now, a little cottage industry, it's more than a cottage industry now, has grown out of ESG investing. So my answer was, most the honest answer is, we look at ESG scores for the companies we invest in. Why? Because the better the ESG scores, the better the stock has done over time. So there's a correlation. It's the same thing like earnings. Companies that have improving earnings tend to do better than companies with deteriorating earnings from the stock. So any tool I can use to win, and ESG happens to be one of them, I use it.
So even if you're a total dirtball and could care less about the universe,
should look at ESG
you should use these good
Yes.
measurements. Back to the talk earlier about our conversation about callings in the plural. I think one of the myths, or maybe a myth and sort of theological errors, if I could be so bold, that we sometimes make is we want to think that our callings are, as one very popular contemporary Christian writer says, where your deepest passion meets the world's greatest need. Rubbish. I mean, there's the rare few who get to be the first chair pianist, or who get to design code like they're just wired to do, or to be an artist. But for most of us, we're an English major and we're selling securities, or we're a history major and we're in marketing. So a lot, and go back and study some of the biblical callings. Most of the people were not really that happy with what God asked them to do.
Very good point.
And the PS that is God fills in the gap. And so we're not called to enjoy ourselves. We're not called to love what we do. And when we have those rare moments, thank you, it's great. But a lot of work is tough, and we're meant to be there for reasons we may not realize till later. Well, as I've listened to Bob's wonderful remarks and a whole range of things, and here we know we're good friends, we've known each other for a long time. I've learned a lot of things tonight that I want to thank you for your intellectual curiosity, your theological curiosity, and frankly your introspection to learn things about yourself. Sometimes they're pleasant discoveries, and sometimes they're not pleasant discoveries, but you lean into some of those things and you come out a stronger human being as a result. So on behalf of GLF, thank you. How about a round of applause for